Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Why Tomorrow's Leading Businesses Run NetSuite Today. We have a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you experience technical difficulties during the WebEx session, please dial 1-866-229-3239, or you can message the WebEx producer using the Q&A panel. During the presentation, all participants will remain in listen-only mode. As a reminder, this event is being recorded for rebroadcast. We encourage you to submit written questions at any time during the presentation using the Q&A panel located at the bottom right of your screen. After typing your questions in the space at the bottom, hit the Send button, and please be sure to direct your questions to all panelists in the Ask menu. Your questions will not be seen by other members of the audience and will be addressed, time permitting, toward the end of the session. Now I am pleased, ladies and gentlemen, to turn your call over to your first speaker for today, Rob Easterek, Vice President, Global Marketing Programs.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate you guys attending the webinar today. Today we're going to present an overview of NetSuite, the solution, and why tomorrow's leading businesses are running NetSuite today. My name is Rob Easterek. I'm the Vice President, Global Marketing Programs at NetSuite, and joining me today and doing the demo will be Larry McMahon. He's our Senior Solutions Consultant for NetSuite. And so without further ado, we'll move on to the following pages. Okay. Hold on a second. There we go. So for today's agenda, first we'll give you a little bit of an overview of why companies are moving so rapidly to the cloud, providing a little data from analysts and background on why folks are unhappy with their current on-premise systems in place and why they're making this move so rapidly. I'll provide an overview of NetSuite, why we're in business, how we're different, and the such. And then Larry's going to take over and do a demo showing the full scope of the NetSuite capability and how the architecture helps businesses run better. And then finally, we'll have time for Q&A. Once we're done with the Q&A, we'll also have a polling question we'll push out to you guys, so we'd love for your feedback there. So, why are companies making the move to the cloud, and why are they unhappy with the systems they have in place today? Essentially, with the legacy architecture that companies have been using to run their business in the past, there's a lot of problems. One, the cost of maintaining those systems. Analysts like Forrester have identified that while you pay a cost up front, the much more significant cost is actually the maintenance, not only cost of maintenance and cost of upgrading and integrating solutions and the such, keeping servers live, but as well a time basis. It takes time for your IT team to upgrade and install on different locations and different people's computers and the such, and it all leads to inefficiency. For the same reason, many companies are stuck on their old versions of software. So depending on what, folks on the phone are probably using a variety of different software products, whether it be QuickBooks, Microsoft Dynamics, Sage, SAP, Oracle, or some other systems. And with pretty much all of those systems, when analysts have actually looked at this, they found that almost over 2/3 are actually using the old versions of those software products for the very reason that on-premise products really are quite difficult to upgrade. They're quite expensive. It's painful and risky. And so most companies actually choose to use the old product and not take advantage of any of the new features or capabilities. Related to this, when people look at where IT is spending their time, the maintenance that needs to go into all these applications and integrating applications and potentially upgrading if the company does decide to upgrade to the latest platforms. The vast majority of IT department's time is actually spent on maintenance at this point, not delivering on the growth and innovation that the CEO, the CFO want to see the IT department bring to their company so they can grow faster, innovate, and differentiate from the competition. And then finally, adding on top of all this, many companies have gone a best-of-breed approach using a system like QuickBooks or, Great Plains for accounting, another system for sales management, maybe another system for inventory management, a custom website for their web and their forms, other systems out there, and all these are cobbled together, just further amplifying the problem. So for this reason, companies are rapidly making the run to the cloud, and this is pretty consistent whether you talk to IDC, Gartner, Forrester, Aberdeen, or any kind of third-party research company. The move to the cloud is literally the number one technology that's affecting IT. It's a boardroom discussion at this point, and companies are making that move quite rapidly. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the cloud and how that actually provides an enhancement to the current systems companies are running today. Firstly, with the cloud, you essentially are allowing another company to host the data for your company. And with that, companies like NetSuite and other companies in the space, Salesforce.com, NetSuite, are specialists in making sure that the data is absolutely secure, absolutely stability, data stability, the product has good uptime and performance and such. Specialists in this space, so there's dedicated focus around there. As I just discussed, with cloud products, upgrades and enhancements to the product, the latest features, are automatically pushed out to the community. So there's no pain around upgrading the software anymore, and you don't have that effect of 2/3 of companies avoiding that upgrade decision because of the difficulties related to it. Upgrades happen automatically with the cloud, and in fact, even when you have customizations layered on top of a cloud product, those also get carried forward along with those enhancements. There's no risk from that perspective. Of course, and I'll talk a little bit about this, but anytime, anywhere access. Nowadays with the mobile, global world, everyone needs access at any time. People work from home, they're traveling, offices are often disparate nowadays, outsourcing occurs, and having access to the business data from anywhere at any time is critical. A key piece we hear a lot of is, speed of deployment. With cloud systems, you often get a speed of deployment about 1/3 of what you would get with an on-premise system, and so you can get up and running a lot faster than you could with other mid-market and enterprise ERP solutions out there, for example. And then finally, pay-as-you-go and regular enhancements are other key benefits of the cloud. This is a good way of portraying the cost equation, both a people cost and a raw cost perspective. But on-premise software, you pay that license up front, but a huge chunk of the actual investment you put into the product over the lifetime of the solution is actually customization, procuring hardware, servers, maintaining those servers, maintaining integrations and upgrades. Of course, you need a few more people for IT to maintain all of those things, and training. And so people like Gartner have essentially said that customers spend 4 times the amount that they spend on their license with on-premise systems, just on the maintenance alone. The cloud is quite the reverse. You pay your license fee, and that license fee comes with more or less everything you need. There's a chunk, of course, with customization implementation, but it's a lot less a proportion of the overall cost than we get with on-premise solutions. And the total cost of ownership, variety of different analysts, in this case the Hurwitz Group, have identified that it's dramatically better with the cloud when you look at all the different costs related to maintaining the different solutions. We talked a little bit about anytime, anywhere access, but of course, getting data in real time is critical nowadays. The market's more competitive than ever. You're competing with companies not only in your states or in your country, but from all over the world at this point. Obviously, the internet offers a whole new slew of competitors, and it's important that you make decisions as fast as humanly possible, that you're not wasting your resources time cobbling together spreadsheets from multiple different data sources and trying to make sense of them, and by the time you get that reporting, it's multiple weeks later. Certainly with the distributed workforce, the fact that people have multiple locations, and then, of course, people viewing their information on cell phones, desktops, tablets, etc. Your information has to be mobile, beyond just real time. And finally, self-service. Regardless of the department you're working in, whether it's order management, you're the CEO, you're in finance, you're in IT, the employees of their company, as well as their customers and vendors and partners, you want to make as much of those processes self-service as possible, so you can spend your time strategically, not on simply answering ad hoc tactical questions. So, we talked a little bit about the cloud and the momentum that various analysts have talked about. I'll talk a little bit about NetSuite shortly, but this is just a quote from IDC on, with the cloud momentum, in the early days of cloud, about 15 years ago, many folks would start with the cloud with a niche solution, maybe a contact management system or such. At this point, according to many analysts, companies are moving all their different products and core operations to cloud, not just CRM, project management, but also financials, e-commerce, inventory management, manufacturing processes, really the heart of the company. And many of them are choosing NetSuite. NetSuite is the world's #1 cloud business software system. Company was founded in 1998 by Oracle executives, and Larry Ellison was an early founder of the company as well. We're now public on the New York Stock Exchange, have been for many years. We have offices in 11 countries around the world, well over 2,400 employees at this point, and revenue is at $414 million. We probably will exceed $500 million by the end of the year. The performance of the company has been great. Company grows rapidly. We're widely considered by pretty much every authority out there as the leading cloud business management system out existing. Over 20,000 organizations across 100 countries use us. And I'll talk shortly about this, but Gartner's noted us as the fastest growing financial management system for 5 straight years, which has been a great recognition. And finally, NetSuite, I talked about the size of the company and the complexity of the company. We run our whole business on NetSuite, so we believe in the product enough to, keep our whole business running on a daily basis. It seems to be working out pretty well. In terms of customer, we have customers across the spectrum of different industries, different company sizes, large companies such as Qualcomm, Williams-Sonoma, Land O'Lakes, Lonely Planet, going all down to some of the world's fastest growing companies, whether you're talking about Guitar Center, Roku, GoPro, Box, Zumba, Zendesk, etc. The company's also received a large number of recognitions. We literally just were recognized by the Software Industry Association, the Cody Awards, for Best Financial Management Software and Best Commerce Solution. And we were recently noted by Forbes as one of America's most trustworthy companies. This is the data I talked through previously around our fastest growing performance. So, we've been rapidly outgrowing all of the other top financial management systems in the market. And interestingly, we are literally the only pure cloud vendor in this list. So we talked a little bit about, the cobbled together solution, siloed architecture that many companies run on right now, and tying it all together with Excel and primarily employees doing a lot of the work, tying the different data sources together with repeated data entry processes from system to system. And so NetSuite, when we built the system, not only do we build on cloud, but the whole real differentiator is that it's built on one single data source, one code base from day one that integrates everything from ERP or accounting processes to inventory management to sales, marketing, professional services, all the way through e-commerce. And of course, then all the various different roles within the company, including customers, vendors, and partners, can be exposed to this data and information and get their information in real time. The system is also built as a global business management system, so regardless of what country you operate or if you have subsidiaries or acquisitions or other divisions in different parts of the country, it has multi-currency, multi-taxation, multi-language built into the platform from day one, and you can roll up the data overall as well as by subsidiary and division. The system is built to purposely cross different departments. So in this type of image, you can see, from finance, marketing, sales, all in one data source, and the processes seamlessly flow end-to-end across the business. And some of the advantages of that are, of course, from an order management perspective, no longer do we have a situation of someone uses a basic contact management system, prints out a quote and an order, walks it over to another department called order management, who fat fingers it into a system, takes a few days of manual effort, then the system finally posts, then you have to deal with accounting, getting the data into the accounting system. Sales can actually report on and forecast based on true revenue history, not based on guesstimates of opportunities. Invoicing and revenue recognition are all things that now can be considered. Commission can be calculated efficiently. Accounting doesn't have to deal with as many questions, answering sales reps questions about when they're going to get their commission, how is it posted. It's all self-service and much more automated and streamlined. And of course, as I mentioned, customers, partners, vendors, and employees now can self-service a lot more, which saves a lot of time. And so essentially the model is, instead of having all these different systems which all require hardware, servers, maintenance, and such, you now have NetSuite that you subscribe to, but it replaces all these multiple systems, integrations, and all the infrastructure beneath them. And some of the benefits of this, of course, we talked about real-time visibility. Larry will show this in his demo, but it's all built around dashboards and reporting, and all the data is drillable. So depending on your role in the company, what data you want access to, and what data the admin within the company has given you the privileges to look at, you've got real-time visibility across all your key metrics to run your business better. And the benefits are right here. The return on investment, as calculated by external industry analysts, are over 500%. Typically, you'll get payback based on the calculations within less than 6 months. We see rapid reductions in financial close processes, oftentimes as much as 50%. We actually have examples that are much more than that, as well as pretty drastic reductions in invoicing costs, quotes cash, process improvements, and IT cost reduction. Companies across a big spectrum of different companies. We talked about a lot of fast-growing, mid-sized companies using them. A lot of enterprises also use NetSuite. Companies like CA, Olympus, Land O'Lakes, Shaw, which is the largest carpet manufacturer in the world, Qualcomm, Knowledge Universal, and Sonoma. But then a lot of companies across a variety of different industries: software, wholesale distribution, manufacturing services, retail. We also have a lot of companies in the education, nonprofit, financial services spaces exist as well. And before we go into the demo, just so you get a feel for kind of the type of impact it has on many companies, I just wanted to touch on a few case studies before we get into the demo. But companies like ESAT, they're a software company. They moved to NetSuite and were able to scale their company at an extremely rapid pace, basically moving from 4,000 transactions to 30,000 in 4 years without a significant increase in headcount related to maintaining that. The big reduction in being able to collect on those orders as well, and managing a much larger customer base. And then finally, Patriotic Outfitters was another company in the retail space in this instance that moved to NetSuite. They essentially moved from a system of many different systems: QuickBooks, custom-built web store, a different point-of-sale system, etc., over to NetSuite. They actually standardized the whole operation, whether it came from e-commerce to accounting, to inventory management, order management, sales, point-of-sale, to NetSuite, and now run the business across 22 stores, 10 states, running all those different processes with the company. And their feeling is that, best-in-class system, and that there's not really a system out there quite like NetSuite. So, devil's in the details, so I won't belabor the point anymore. I'm going to throw it over to Larry now, and he'll jump into the demo so we can actually see the product in action, and then we'll get to answering your questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Rob. Again, folks, my name is Larry McMahon. Let me go ahead and share some screens. and you should be seeing my dashboard. And let me go ahead and give a little bit more real estate for you. Again, folks, my role is I'm a pre-sales person, technical consultant, and what I'll be doing is a high-level presentation of the NetSuite product. My goal today is just to give you that view of what it would look like coming in as a senior exec, what it might look like from a salesperson's perspective, maybe from finance. We'll show you how everything connects together and how easy it is to use. So you're looking at a dashboard that a senior executive might have. They've logged in with an email address and password to uniquely identify this person. We do use roles-based security, so this person comes in, we know what role, what permissions they have, and then they see this dashboard. Now each user actually can configure their own dashboard, but what you have the ability to do is now I can see all of the different activities, all the things that are going on with the business. How is the company performing? How's sales? How's my income? What's my profitability? I have that right within my dashboard. We've incorporated a number of little widgets up on the top here, which actually lets you focus in on the things that are most critical to your business. And these things can blink and really highlight, pull out the information that's important for you to go ahead and see. All the information you're seeing is being presented in real time as well, with the ability to click and navigate down into the underlying details. But over here you can see I've got some reminders. These are a form of an alert that tells me I have things that I'm responsible for, things I need to take care of, such as I've got a sales order that needs to be approved. I can go ahead and click on that. It'll open up the window that shows me the order that's sitting out there. Then I can go ahead and click on the order, and it will show me all of the details of the order and allow me to go ahead and approve or reject that particular order. Now this is actually using a workflow, which is part of our architecture, and the ability for you to establish the criteria for what would need to go through approval. Maybe it didn't achieve a particular margin and you wanted to make sure that it got signed off by a senior exec, or maybe the discount was too high or the price was too low. Those could all be trigger mechanisms which then can be run through an approval process. That was just to give you an example of what can be done with workflow. But down below here, I can see my customer profitability. I can see my financial metrics, my sales, number of invoices, my gross profit percent, all of the details that a senior exec might want to see. And I can control over what periods of time I view the information. So I can see today, this week, this month. I can do comparisons. I can see percent changes. And again, all in real time with the ability to drill and navigate down into the underlying details. So let's go ahead and take a look at sales information here. I'm looking at this month versus last month. And you can see it looks like I'm having a good month compared to last. Well, let's go ahead and click and see the details of that. So this is the report that's actually driving that metric that you saw on the front page. In here, I have the ability to see all of my sales. Because I'm the senior executive, I can see it throughout all of my subsidiaries, throughout the entire organization. And here, this is just an extension of our reporting engine. I also have the ability to see this information maybe broken out by product line, broken out by individual departments, or maybe by location. Let's go ahead and see that same information, the sales information, broken out by different sales regions. So I've got a Boston location, a San Francisco location, and I can scroll down and see all the different sales. From here, I can click again and drill down and see these are all of the invoices for that particular customer. Click again will open up that particular invoice. So here's the invoice for that customer. You can see the item that was sold. You can see is there any shipping, handling, any tax? What was the discount that was offered? What was my gross profit? All of those details are here. This is the actual invoice itself. Again, all in real time, with the ability for you to click and navigate down into those underlying details. Now what I would like to do is actually change role so you get a perspective of what it might look like coming in as a different individual. I'm going to switch over to a sales rep role. You'll notice the dashboard components will be very different. Again, each user controls what they have the ability to see and position on their dashboard. Let's see here, I've got my set of reminders. I've got little shortcuts up here so I don't have to navigate through the menus to find certain things. I can go directly to those things I run most frequently. Over here I've got my key performance indicators, but you notice these are focused on me as a sales rep and not the overall state of the business. So as a rep, I'm looking at what are my new leads, what's my sales, my quota, my commissions, how are things tracking for me this month. I can scroll down, I can see my filters. Let's go ahead and refresh this. I had a little refresh. This is another form of shortcuts. And what this allows you to do is to group, organize your workflow, your daily flow as to what you do that day. If I'm doing customer relations, these are the things that I would typically run. You can actually organize those, set up these little mini workflows for individuals so they know what they're going to be working on. Down below I've got my open estimates. These are those things I want to focus my attention on that are over a certain dollar amount. Could be based on any criteria. This is actually a custom search. It's very easy for the average user to be able to go in and create those on their own. Wouldn't need to rely on IT to do that. And then down below I've got my sales by customers, so I can see how my customers are performing. And maybe these are the customers within my region, my territory. This could also be looking at my top items that are being sold, or even taking a look at how I'm performing against the other sales reps in my team, so I can see where I am in position for the month. What tasks do I have scheduled? And then what's my pipeline? These are all different metrics that you can go through and position onto the dashboard. We've got phone calls I need to follow up on, opportunities I need to track, leads I need to follow up on, all the things that you would expect that your sales organization would need to do. So we are a full CRM solution which ties into the ERP side, full order management, inventory control, financials, e-commerce, all of that is part of the NetSuite ERP solution. So from here, what I'm going to do is actually start getting into, I'll go through a business process. What I'll do is I'll go through, create a quote, turn it into an order. We'll go through the fulfillment cycle, the invoice, and payment. So you can see how everything connects together. But before I do that, I want to use global search. Up top here, I have the ability to search on anything that's indexed in the system that I have permission to see. If I just typed in the word John, it's finding every reference to John, first names, last names, based on the things that I have the ability to see. If I know an invoice number, a customer PO number, an item number, program name, I can call it up there and it will locate it for me. Well, let's go ahead and look for just a customer, so I can actually narrow the search down. Look for customer, and I want to find Smith Supplies. As you continue to type, it's got fuzzy logic built in, which will filter that list. So this is our customer master, and it's really the central repository of everything related to that particular customer. Things that you'd expect, name, address, and phone number. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that are a little bit unique. So down below, I got my contacts. This is actually a contact from another company. Maybe it's a consultant. Maybe it's an architect, a designer. But that's actually not part of this particular company, and maybe they provide services for several of your clients. So you can actually organize contacts that are not necessarily part of this particular company. In here, I can also see custom information. So I've got a company profile tab. This is actually a unique tab that was added. It takes just a few seconds to add that tab. These fields within it are actually custom fields as well. So new categories, new types, new classifications that you want to go ahead and add in. It takes a few seconds to add them. It is an administrative privilege, so only an IT person, typically your system admin, would do that. But it's no programming involved, really straightforward. Once those fields are added, they're part of the database, and they're available to be searched and reported against. Other information, such as financials. What's their current credit limit? What's their aging? What pricing level are they entitled to? Are they entitled to specific pricing, maybe different product categories that we want to offer a different level of discount for them, or even item-specific pricing? On the Communications tab, you can see all of your emails, letters, PDFs, faxes, all of your communications, whether it's coming from sales, marketing, collections, the finance department, accounts payable. All of the details are stored within this record, and it's all permission-based. So I can go through here and see what invoice was sent out last. Have they been contacted recently by our marketing department? I'd be able to see that. We have a bidirectional interface with Outlook. So whether you initiate the email within NetSuite or initiate it in Outlook, you can synchronize the information back and forth. But again, central repository of all of that information is here. This is just some of the information that's available to you. Also, physical contracts, so documents. Whether it be maybe making a copy of a quote, a signed quote, you can attach that. Maybe it's an image of an item or a product spec or a brochure, a service level agreement. These are all documents. We have a file repository in our file cabinet up top here, and it allows you to store documents throughout the entire system. And you can see here I've got a contract attached to this particular customer. Let's go ahead and go back to the dashboard, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and now start going through kind of a business process so you can see how everything hangs together. Up here I've got my quote. Really simple. We'll go through. This could be an opportunity just for time. I'm going to shortcut it and go into a quote and then move that into a sales order. But here I've got my customer. Let's go ahead and start typing in Smith. Find Smith Supplies for me. Down below I have the ability to go through and well, let's talk about forecasting. So this is actually going to be put out there for revenue projections. You can see where it is in the pipeline. I can see it's going to be a proposal, 50% probability. It's going to be included in my forecast, so I can then project what my revenues will potentially be if this quote comes through. Down below, I have the ability to go through and type in what items they're looking to get quoted on, or I can use add multiples. This is showing all of the items I have the ability to sell, and it's showing the price for this particular customer because it knows the pricing level, and it's also tied into the inventory back end, so it can see what inventory is available within this location. So I actually have 12 units that are available. And I can go through and add in items really quickly. I can add in a whole group of items all at once, and then go through and attach those to a particular quote. We'll just do the one. We'll add that jacket to the quote. Now from here, as a sales rep, maybe I want to know a little bit more about this item. Let's go ahead and open up the item. Now because we're web-based, you can have an unlimited amount of windows open at the same time. This I just opened up another little window, another tab. So this is the jacket that we just put onto the sales order. You can see the pricing levels that are out there. You can see the quantity breaks. I can see basic information about the item. How do we sell it? What does it weigh? Who do we buy it from? What price do we get it for? And where is it currently stored? I can see all of the inventory locations. How do we replenish? Am I using a min-max, or am I using our demand planning engine? So I can see I've got 12 that are on hand, and they're all available. So all of that is done directly from the order itself. So popping open another window, being able to see all those details. How will this item, what does it look like? How is it sold? Also, how will it be presented within the web store? E-commerce is a native part of our solution, and so this could automatically be populated and presented within our web store. So we've got our quote. Let's go ahead and save it. Now this quote could be printed and emailed directly out to the customer from here. You can also fax it, so you wouldn't need to necessarily print everything and mail it out. So we now have our quote. There is an acknowledgement that has gone out to the customer that this was the item that was quoted. If they sign it, scan it, send it back to you, you can actually attach a physical copy of that quote as a document in here. We'll go ahead and now move it along through the sales cycle into a sales order. Single click. I don't have to rekey anything in. I'm not taking it from a CRM solution, but I have to then manually rekey it into my ERP solution. All of the information is automatically carried forward, and there's a tie back to where it came from. So whether it came from an opportunity or a quote, I can see the connections where it was derived from. The item, the quantity, the discount that they're entitled to, is it taxable or not? And I can see all of that information here. Let's go ahead and hit save, and we'll save that order. So this is actually indicating that I have, this item is set up to be, this customer is set up to have a credit card on file. They also have terms. And basically wants me to choose which way do I want to go ahead and sell it. Well, let's go ahead and take off the credit card, and we'll go ahead and do an invoice on this one. So we now have a sales order that is out there. It's going to be using our terms, so we're going to go ahead and invoice it. And it's now in a position where I can go through and do the fulfillment on this particular order. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is change roles and flip over to a warehouse person. I changed roles over to a warehouse person. You can see a very different look and feel. This person is responsible for shipping product and maintaining inventory levels. You can see what orders are being scheduled this week. You can see late shipped orders. You get an idea of what's happening. You get the value of shipping charges, orders that need to be fulfilled. And let's go ahead and click on that because it'll have that order that we just created. So that order we just created, it's up here, 682, and we can go through and do the fulfillment process. Now we can do full pick, pack, and ship, printing the pick lists and packing slips and all that. I'm just shortcutting the process for time's sake. Here's our item, the quantity that we have currently on hand, the item that we're going to ship it from, and the location, and how are we going to ship it. We have direct integration with FedEx, UPS, and USPS for real-time rates. So we could go through and calculate what those rates would be and then hit save. This will automatically deduct that item from inventory, and it is now available to be invoiced. So let's go ahead and switch over to a finance role. Go over to the controller. Again, a very different look and feel coming in from a financial perspective. What's my AR aging? I can see my payables, receivables, total bank balance information. Down below, I've got different little shortcuts for me to use. I got financial ratios, so I can see what my turns are, my day sales outstanding. I can see my profitability, my returns on my assets and equity. All of these, again, are real-time information that I can click and navigate down into. Well, let's go ahead and leverage our shortcuts again. These are orders that are ready to be invoiced. Go ahead and click on it. It'll be a list of all of the orders that are ready to be invoiced. Here's that one that we were just working on, 682. We'll go ahead and just open up that one. We'll review it before we go ahead and save it. So here's our order. Everything is pulled over directly from that sales order. It ties it back to the original sale. And you've got the item that was in here, and it's actually going to go through. And so it's going to run through. This one looks like I forgot to take the credit card off. It's trying to run it through the credit card, so let's go ahead and cancel that. But this is an ability to go through and do the invoice and then go through the fulfillment process, accepting payment, and walking through that whole cycle. Now, this order could have easily also been processed through our web store. So let's go ahead and open up. I've got another window I want to go ahead and share. Again, this is a native extension of our solution as to be able to provide products and present them via a web store. And here's an example of a web store that's tied to this account, showing different items that you have the ability to go through and set up. And this is some cameras and camcorders. I've got other items. I can see featured products. I can go through here and drill into the details of the item, take a look at it more in depth. I can do some comparisons. I can leverage social media, taking a look at, do I want to share this with Facebook, Twitter? I can put it out into a gifts registry, a wish list. I can view alternate images. I can see specs, product reviews, related items. In there, let's go ahead and add it to our shopping cart, and we'll go through and process this. So this is our camera power shots, and down below it shows the pricing. I can go ahead and proceed to checkout. Now I've already logged in as Tim Smith. We'll see if it's been a while, so it may have logged me out, but let's see. Okay, so it's logged me out. So let's go ahead and log back in as Tim. And what it will do is it will verify, does Tim have a credit card on file? Is there shipping address information on file? And so here it's showing Tim Smith, a recommended address. It's automatically pulling up UPS as their preferred shipping method. Down below, I've got a couple of credit cards on file. It's recommending to run this through the Visa. And we can go ahead and review the sales order. And we can go ahead and then place our order. So we just took that same item, that Canon Power Shot, and it sold it on the item. And here's our confirmation. An email went out. And here's our order number, 683. Well, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and change back to the controller over here, and we'll go ahead and type in 683. And you'll be able to see that sales order that was just created via the web store. All happens in real time. It'll go through the exact same process as the other order. This came in via the web store. Here's the Canon Power Shot and the price that it was sold for, shipping and handling charges, and would be processed just like that other order going through the fulfillment cycle and then getting your financials. Now, that is really tying everything together. The CRM side, going into order management, talking about inventory control, how we manage inventory, how we replenish inventory, going through the fulfillment cycle, and then ultimately ending up in an ability to go through and either invoice it or charge a credit card, and then process payments around that. And everything is connected together, being a full-on ERP solution, as well as tying it into your e-commerce capabilities. Now, the last thing I'd like to just wrap up with is one of the things that I'd like to show you how easy it is to go through and pull information out of NetSuite. One of the biggest challenges I see as a solution consultant is being able to retrieve information from your systems and putting the power of that in the hands of the user, not having to rely on IT to do that. So here, I'm going to go through and customize a report, standard customer sales report. We'll go ahead and customize it. This is our report builder. Over here is my data dictionary and the fields that I have available in my data set. Let's go ahead and scroll down. We'll find a custom field called industry type. Now, this is a custom field that was added to the customer record, and I can now go through and see that same information now by industry type. Let's go ahead and now group it by industry type. We'll go ahead and change the whole report and how it looks. Same information is now just being grouped by industry type. And as you can imagine, this could be product lines, this could be territories, this could be any metric that you want to be able to track or categorize your customers by. And so here's all of my customers now grouped by industry type, automatically subtotaled. Again, really simple, really straightforward for the average user to be able to go through, create their own searches, reports, modify their existing reports, and be able to pull information out and really be effective with the information you get. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it back over to Rob and have him wrap up.
Thanks, Larry. So, and thank you for that presentation, Larry. And we'll now be able to answer some questions for you guys. There's quite a few coming in, so I'll start going through those one by one. We'll try and get it to as many as possible. Just also a reminder, once we're done with the Q&A, we're going to push a survey out to you guys to get your feedback. That'll help us improve our presentations and education for you guys in the future, so look out for that. So without further ado, so we had one question here. Besides possibly Roku, who are representative customers operating under the software subscription model? So we have a lot of customers in this space. Of course, Roku, but Zendesk, Box, Qualys, Calidus, Burst, Splunk, Acton, SolarWinds, Software AG, Cornerstone, ton of, obviously, and we're software subscription model as well, so, and we run on NetSuite. So we have a lot of experience in this space. It's one of our stronger spaces, quite frankly. So hopefully that answers that question for you. One just logistical question, will slides be available after the webinar? They definitely will. We'll send them out a few days after the webinar. So you'll get those via the email that you registered with. So look out for that for sure. There was a question about, is it possible to upload historical data during implementation? Absolutely. Part of the implementation process is looking at your current data, identifying of that data, which is the data you want to keep and maintain, whether it's coming from QuickBooks or Salesforce.com or other places, and making sure we map that into the right places in NetSuite so you're not starting from scratch. So definitely part of our experience for sure. Question on how flexible is the online environment compared to WordPress plugins, connection with Marketo. I can start answering this, and Larry, you can also maybe jump in there. But so connection with Marketo, yes, we do an integration with Marketo. We just had actually our Suite World conference, annual conference for customers, and Marketo was a sponsor at that conference, along with their integration, of course. Larry could probably talk a little bit about the online environment more, but it's really flexible. So if you go to NetSuite.com right now, or you go to our UK site or Australia site, all of that is NetSuite as well. So really the forms, the web experience, the web store, if you have one, is fully customizable. And Larry, do you have anything to add there?
I guess the only thing is, because of our architecture being web-based, we have an open API structure, so it's really easy to integrate with other applications. And I think that's just the open nature of our product allows for that.
Yeah, in addition to Marketo integration, we also integrate with other products in that space, including Acton, Calidus, LeadFormix, Silverpaw, and there's a whole slew of other folks that we integrate with in the marketing automation space. There's a question here: can we use NetSuite for quote order management and accounting finance, but integrate with Salesforce.com for CRM? And the answer is yes. So a lot of companies, many companies do, their new sales reps like to use Salesforce, are used to it, and then they use NetSuite for quote order management, accounting, maybe e-commerce, inventory management, etc. So there's quite a lot of that, and we do have an integration with Salesforce.com. So you can definitely work either way, or start with NetSuite for the back office or order management plus, and then later move to CRM if you want to. So that's definitely an option. The question here, maybe Larry, this would be good for this. You might be able to answer this one better than I can. How does this system handle return goods, RGA?
Yeah, it's native to our solution. It's an extension of the order management cycle. The ability for you to go through and do a return, an RMA, and be able to go through, and there's an automatic approval process that it will run through, and then the goods come back in, and you can determine whether they're going to go back into stock, whether they're going to go into an inspection location, or whether they're going to be disposed of. But it's all part of the system, ties in with the inventory side, ties in with the financials as well. So if there's a credit due, we would know what has been paid on that order and how to reimburse that particular customer.
Thanks, Larry.
Yep.
Another question here on does NetSuite calculate and manage sales rep commissions? So NetSuite does calculate sales rep commissions. It's included in the system. In addition, depending on, some companies have extremely advanced commission calculations, so we also integrate with a variety of different commission partners such as Concur, and have rich integrations with NetSuite as well in case you need more complicated capabilities. So yeah, we definitely provide for that. Question here: can the contract signing be integrated with DocuSign? DocuSign is actually both a customer and a strategic partner of ours, so the system integrates very deeply with DocuSign. So absolutely. Let's see here. Seeing what questions can make sense. Larry, you might be able to help out on this one. There's a question here. Will we get to do manufacturing, and how do we handle raw material for the manufacturing with NetSuite to finished goods?
Yeah, in fact, my background is manufacturing, and we have a great solution around for manufacturers. So the ability to set up those materials, the ability to set up your work centers, your routings. Today, we're doing more of a simple wholesale distribution type product, but we do actually have a very robust manufacturing solution.
Thanks, Larry. Question here: is there a point-of-sale solution including the system? There absolutely is. So we do have a point-of-sale system as part of our capability. Question on who is using your web store environment rather than building their own. So a few companies who are using NetSuite for the web store. Williams-Sonoma uses us. All of their Asia operation websites, they just expanded internationally, and all of those websites in Australia and several countries in Asia are using NetSuite. Beyond the Rack uses us, another global e-commerce product company using our web store environment. As I mentioned, NetSuite does, so that's a B2B example. But a lot of companies using our web store environments for sure. But like I said, you can also use your own web store. You don't need to use. That's not a requirement of using NetSuite, but it's certainly an option, and it's certainly an area we invest heavily in from a product perspective. There's a question here: do the dashboard reminders link with outside software such as Outlook and Concur? We do have integration with Outlook as well as Concur. Question here on implementation. Do you have implementation partners, or do you implement yourself? So we actually do both. We have a large implementation community, both external resellers of the software who you can work with, as well as people who are specialists in integration, and then definitely have an internal implementation team as well. So the internal implementation team, I'd probably say 70% of our customers implement with the internal implementation team. But we also partner with companies like Grant Thornton, Boomi, McGladrey, a variety of different Accenture, Deloitte, Capgemini, all the large players, both in the accounting, auditing space, the integration space, and the enterprise, global solution integrator space. So we definitely provide those options, and also you can choose to implement through a reseller if you like. Question on, is NetSuite application PCI compliant? Absolutely PCI compliant. It's one of the reasons companies like to use our system because it saves a lot of time internally from getting PCI compliant on custom solutions. A few more minutes here, so we can take a few more. The question on, does NetSuite support multiple browsers, i.e. Safari, Chrome? Yes, all browsers are supported. It's definitely, given that we're a cloud solution, it's really critical that we support the product on all browsers. In addition, we have mobile products for both Android as well as iPhone, and a variety of partners have also created other types of mobile solutions as well. But we're definitely accessible via multiple browsers and also mobile as well. Larry, you might be able to answer this one. I have retail clients. Does your product link to live sales tax districts for accurate calculations?
We do. So we partner with Avalara and one other taxware, so they can do that.
Yeah, and those tax calculations managed by country, but not just by country and state, but down to district and localities. So It looks like we're out of time, almost. There might be a few more questions. Might be able to jam in here. If with your other questions, we'll make sure we follow up with answers after the webinar. So appreciate you won't be able to get to all the questions we have here. Looks like we've only gotten through a quarter of the list maybe, but we'll be able to answer those offline. And then, like I mentioned, we'll be pushing out a survey to you. So if you could help us out and give us your feedback, that'd be great. There was one more minute here, so I'll try and get to. There's a question of, you mentioned links to Outlook. What about Gmail? We do have a partner, integration partner who has created a rich integration with Gmail. So that is available through one of our integration partners. It looks like we're running out of time here, but see if there's anything else that pops out. What about fixed asset maintenance? We do a fixed asset as a capability within the system, for sure. And it looks like we're... There's a question, let's see here. Yeah, there's a question here about, does anyone use the NetSuite web store in the B2B environment? So I think one of the case studies I actually presented with ESET, and their B2B software company uses, but we're actually quite strong on B2B because NetSuite as a company, we use NetSuite for our web store and e-commerce environment, but we're actually quite rich on the B2B web store environment for sure, given the system self-service, the fact that it includes CRM, natively order management, inventory management, the customer portal we have. So we actually have quite a good solution for B2B web capability. And it looks like that's a little over the time. So we'll follow up with your additional questions. You'll see a poll and question gets pushed out, so please help us there. And really appreciate all the time you've given us, and hopefully you found it educational and helpful. Thank you.